What 2000 song will always be a banger? Who's going to make this playlist for us? Feel Good Incorporated. Last Night. Hey Ya. Seven Nation Army. Paper Planes by Maya. Jimmy Eat World. The Middle. Take Me Out. Franz Ferdinand will always be a banger. Toxic. Britney Spears. It Bleeping Slaps. Get Low by Lil Jon. https://www.youtube.com/watch v=iyh7gzp40g ##** to the window hour ***. How would you feel about introducing an undo function to Reddit that takes you back to where you were if you accidentally clicked away while scrolling? It already exists in the Reddit is Fun app. The app Reddit is Fun has a back button that takes you back to your previously scrolled to spot. Been using it for a while now. I definitely prefer it to the Reddit app or in-browser scrolling. What type of question is this? Of course we all want this. The browser /back buttons seem to work okay for me. Install Redux developer tools in Chrome. Whole site is Redux, and they left the DevTools hook enabled. They use infinite scroll. Do you think they give a bleep about the quality of their website? How would you feel about this thing that you obviously want? Apollo for iOS has this function. Double tapping the top header takes you back to your previous place. Sort by controversial for fun. Just kidding. This is one of the most uncontroversial questions to ever be asked on Reddit and is as stupid as a Ho wwld. Why you feel if old people had to take a driving test again? Question that was circle jerked for 5 years before people called it out. *LAUGHSINANDROID*. What's something people assume about you when they first meet you? That my parents are Marvel fans. ***. My name is Peter Parker***. That I play basketball. 6 feet 5 inches and black. That I'm 30, 23-year-old, 6 feet 0 rocking a dad bod, receding hairline a bit, and can definitely grow full facial hair. Edit. It happens more if facial hair is present. I'm laid back. Nope. Just a nervous wreck whose only coping mechanism is to seize up. That I'm gay. I'm 34 and I really don't know why, but most friends and my dad think I'm gay. Not sexually attracted to men. Sorry folks. I'm not Hispanic or Italian. I'm Japanese American. That I like to hurt people. I'm a dentist. That I'm aloof and possibly somewhat snobby. I'm very shy and fairly emotional. That I'm a bleep. I just have resting bleep face. Everyone assumes I'm far more prim and proper than is actually the case. I'm an older woman with a lot of white hair. My younger co-workers will accidentally swear in front of me and then turn to me with looks of horror. It's hysterical. You're in a food fight to the death. What food do you pick? Hot Pockets turned inside out. Bleep never cools down. Pufferfish but made horribly wrong. Jawbreakers and a slingshot. About 1% of people have a true gluten intolerance. There's a 0.5-1.5% chance that my opponent has a tree nut or peanut allergy, and there's a 2.5% chance they have a shellfish allergy. So I guess I'll go with the old standby of a peanut butter and shrimp sandwich. Find a stale baguette outside some restaurant in the trash. Sharpen it. Durian https://lensdrop.imgix.net/photos/qvt6e/stock photo qvt6e.jpg. mark equals percent to fwm.png and marklign equals center percent to cmiddle and markh equals 0.1 and w equals 1200 and h equals 650 and s equals f987 cf76. 6B0707233F91C4C730BFD5 T-bone steak. Coconut. A full frozen fish, like a large salmon, or small tuna. Just use it like a cudgel. A frozen, vacuum-sealed big rack of pork ribs. Wield it baseball bat style. If you got offered $1 million, but every time you spend it, you sneeze for every dollar you spend, would you take it? Why or why not? Yes, because it is $1 million and I'm broke. I don't have to spend it all at once, but I will have one long day when I buy a car. Edit. Maybe I could work out a small daily payment. Sure. Just use it for small purchases. Sneeze 30 times a day, save $10,000 a year. Buy something that's over $250 and get the world record for most amount of sneezes in a day, and whatever you bought. Hell yeah. Don't spend it on big bleep like my rent. Just the little things that add up and slowly empty my bank account. 35 sneezes totally worth the tank of gas. Ha ha ha. Pollen season round 2. Asterisk asterisk I apostrophe M ready. Asterisk SOMEONE with allergies. You guys are getting paid? What counts as spending it? I would put it in a savings account and only spend the money I earned from its interest. Does giving it to someone else count as spending? Does the sneeze curse transfer to them? Depends. And X200B. Do I get to pick when I sneeze? Will it be one big bunch of sneezes, or small clusters spread out over time? I have bad allergies. I'm sneezing already. Redditors, what was your did IF asterisk CKING stutter moment? Found out my supposed best friend who I was letting live on my couch was cheating on me with my GF at the time who I lived with. I work in it, so I work crazy long hours. But we had a massive power outage one day and boss said to just go home for the day. So I left 5 hours early. Caught both of them red-handed. Kicked them both out at once, which was ideal because I got a little two pigeons, one stone type of deal. They both apologized profusely and asked me, even though they made a mistake, why would I kick them out on the streets in an area where they can't afford to live? Silicon Valley. I laughed my bleep off and said I guess that's something you two should have figured out during pillow talk, and slammed my front door as hard as I could in their faces. Needless to say, it wrecked me for a while because I loved that girl, but looking back on it, I think it's the only moment in my life where I'm proud to have stood up for my morals and values and not taken any bleep or continued to let people walk all over me. And that bleep is priceless. Caught my girlfriend cheating and kicked her out. Went out on the patio for a smoke. I've since quit. Woohoo. And she followed me out asking me to at least give her a few from the pack. When I finally kicked my ex out of my life, she tried to argue us back into being together. Asterisk AS I drove her to the airport. Asterisk and even had the balls to critique my arguing techniques as inconducive to resolving a fight. I cut her off and said, what part of this are you not getting? We're way past that. This is not a fight I need to work through with you. I'm taking you to the airport, and I never want to see or hear from you again. No thank you. I don't want to work Saturday. Are you doing anything on Saturday? No, I just don't want to work Saturday. You contracted me to work weekdays. Anyway, I got a complaint filed against me for not being a team player. Checking into campus housing when I gave them my last name, fairly uncommon, and the girl says, do you mean insert name that rhymes with mine? It's like WTF. Are you seriously suggesting I don't know my own name? Vehicle inspector here. Sir, your back right tail is broken. You need to get that fixed and come back. I'm friends with the owner here, and you're telling me that my car has a problem? I already have. If you aren't prepared in the future, don't waste my time. Every time I say I'm 26 when asked how's high school. Horrible situation. My mom was alcoholic who was paying for all of her boyfriend's nursing home expenses and then paid all of his family's expenses like car payments, big purchases like appliances, or home remodel payments. My mom's addiction causes her health to plummet. She needs to be in nursing care. Her BF dies and his family never contacts her unless it's to complain about that they need money. I take over her finances and cut off of all of their bleeping sugar mama payments. If they had stayed in regular contact or regularly visited her, sure I would have considered it. But no. They just wanted her to cover their payments. I cut off the entire family. My mother had a lot of money. One of the assholes, BF's sister, calls to tell me they are going to report me to Adult Protective Services to report me. I say go ahead, I have nothing to hide, and your guys are a swipes. They were flabbergasted that I said did I bleeping stuffed? They tried to report me, but Adult Protective Services just reached out to me to see if I needed help transitioning my mother to nursing care. Cocksucking turds. Stopped talking to my mom after that. She died, never hearing from them again. I was the one holding her hand during her last few days of life. They didn't come to her funeral or the memorial her students held for her after that. When I was a shift lead in a kitchen, we had this one high schooler who always had an attitude and typically I would ignore it. But one day she didn't want to prep or clean dishes and I gave her the choice, but she flat out said no to doing both. Since she had time to talk with her co-workers, I told her to do both. I usually don't make people do anything. I ask if they can, but this time I deliberately made her do both. They usually don't often see me being direct like that, so it was effective. I almost stuttered too, but I will never let her know that. I hate telling people to do this or that unless I really know them well. Had a door-to-door salesman ring the doorbell. I was nice and opened the door and stepped outside onto the step. Dogs were going bananas. I let him tell me what he was selling and then politely told him I wasn't interested. Went to open the screen door to go in and he put his arm out to stop it from opening. I have resting bleep face normally, so I guess the look on my face was enough, but I was instantly livid with him. What's something you thought was common knowledge but actually isn't? CTRLC, CTRLV. How to use a bleep roundabout. Apparently, a surprising number of people don't realize you should not flush hygienic products down the toilet. If it doesn't eventually back up your own pipes, it will create massive blockages in the public sewer. I had to explain this to a friend in her mid-20s. I was like, why do you think there's little trash cans on the wall of every women's stall? Edit. Asterisk did not expect people to be so passionate about proper hygiene product disposal. Love it. For anyone who's doubtful, there are plenty of horror stories in the comments below about flooded apartments, backed up sewer lines, expensive plumbing repairs, etc. Happy menstruating! Exclamation mark. If you're entering a venue that requires a ticket to be scanned for entry, someone without a scanner can't let you enter. If your wipers are on, your headlights should be on. I work in it, and I'm constantly helping people who don't know what the Windows key is, don't know Internet Explorer / Chrome / Firefox are web browsers. Making your password your name is a really poor choice. Edit. Apparently this really struck a chord with a lot of you. Glad I'm not alone harboring all of these frustrations. A screensaver is the animation, or blankness, that pops up on your computer when you don't use it for a while, to save your screen from getting burned in. The background picture that wallpapers your desktop is the wallpaper. Basic geography. Not being able to point out Turkmenistan on a map is one thing. Not being able to point out the Pacific Ocean on a map is another. The yield sign on highways are there so you look before you just keep going, possibly hitting someone. Happened to a friend's mom. That there are no tigers in Africa. I was on safari in Tanzania and two others in the truck were discussing how excited they would be to see tigers. I told them there weren't any, and they looked all disbelieving and crestfallen, like I was spoiling their fun. They had to check with the guide. What is the saddest scene in movie history? In Atonement, when the true stories are revealed as the writer is finishing the book. I seriously felt my heart break. In Philadelphia during Andy's wake, his brother plays home videos of the siblings as children and it's so sad. Also, the scene at the hospital, when his family is saying goodbye for the night, is a tough one. His brother breaks down and starts bawling. So many great scenes in that movie. Steel Magnolias, when they are at the funeral and a mother has a meltdown about her daughter dying. I cry every time. Losing a child is such a massive fear. Edit SP. John Coffey asking Tom Hanks not to put the hood over his head in The Green Mile. The execution of John Coffey in The Green Mile. https://www.youtube.com/watch v = xqbb1fcx6wm. It also followed by the revelation at the end that Paul Edgecombe, as a result of being cured by John, has been given a lifespan that caused him to outlive his family and friends. He wonder if God is punishing him for what happened to John. He believed that, since John's power could make a mouse live for 6 decades as Mr. Jingles has, then he could live for an untold number of years. https://www.youtube.com/watch v = _ibvzanut0. The Fox and the Hound, when she leaves the fox in the forest and is reciting the poem I Lose It. Also the whole of Blue Valentine. The Shawshank Redemption, when Brooks was released from prison, still gets to me. In Castaway, when Tom Hanks' character goes to Helen Hunt's character's house, and as they are parting forever, she says, "I always knew you were alive. I knew it. Everybody said that I had to let you go. I love you. You're the love of my life. Gets me every time. Dances with wolves when 2 socks the wolf gets killed. Oscar Schindler, newly minted Nazi war criminal, pawing frantically at the last vestiges of his wealth, realizing they meant more lives not saved. Teachers of Reddit, what is the funniest thing you've ever heard a student say? One time a kid asked me what I wanted to do when I grow up. Wore a Captain America shirt to school, since the student council had a superhero day. A student said I looked like Captain America before the injections. One time I was asking students their birthdays. One boy told me that his birthday was September 31st. I tried to explain that this was not possible, but he insisted. Later, I looked it up. I then informed him that his birthday was November 17th. He looked at me kind of confused and said, "Oh." Then his face brightened and he said, "Well, last year I know it was September 31st. Here's my absolute favorite story I have not yet told on Reddit. I had a student who was a newcomer, just moved to the US, almost no English, from Latvia. This kid is very bright, and was one of my favorite 6th graders ever. We were having our annual jogathon, which is linguistically and culturally not translatable from Latvian. Student, so I pay you, and you make me run. Me, yeah, that's actually how it goes. Student, this is simple. I don't pay you, you don't make me run. Me, besides being called mom numerous times, I've been called grandpa once. I'm female. I worked in an inner city school. First day, I got around hard to pronounce names by calling out last names to check attendance and asking my kiddos what name they preferred, and explained even nicknames were okay, so long as parents knew who I would be calling about. I get to one particularly dark-skinned young man and he says something that sounds like "Black boy." I look around and no one is laughing. I ask him to repeat himself a couple of times and finally and clearly says, "Black boy." Rest of convo went like this. Me laughing, "Black boy, you want me to call you black boy?" Him, totally serious, "Yeah, everyone calls me that. Even my grandma." Me, "So let me get this straight. When I need your attention you want me, a white guy, to shout out 'Hey black boy, come here. Hey black boy, sit down. Hey black boy, pay attention'?" Other kids finally realize what I've been laughing about and start to laugh too. Him, "Yeah, said like I'm an idiot." Me, "You're just trying to get me fired, aren't you?" Him, "So you're not gonna call me black boy?" Me, "I can't, man. You got another nickname?" Him, "How about monkey?" We settled on BB for the year. Middle school field trip to a different state. One of the chaperones, a large black woman, wanted to get in a little nap in the back seat of the bus, so she made one of the students move to a seat in the front that was far from his friends. He got in the seat and started sulking. He was normally a pretty lively kid, so I leaned forward and asked Jude, "What happened?" To which he replied, "I think I just got reverse." Rosa Parks said, "Was tutoring after school a couple years ago. A kid asked, 'What time is it?' I joked, 'Time for you to get a watch.' He responded, 'Time for you to get a new joke,' without a moment's hesitation. I had to laugh at getting shown up by a 5th grader. 2 reading levels behind, but witty as hell. Pre-K, a kid was squirming as we line up to go to lunch. I asked if he needed to go to the bathroom. He says no, but keeps squirming. I ask if he's sure that he doesn't need to go, and if he's okay. His reply, "I'm okay. It's just that my penis is so big." He had an erection. I teach sophomores. One day, this girl was sitting at her desk, looking very concerned, and obviously wanted to ask me something. Finally, she blurted out, "Did anybody else see the moon in the sky during lunch? It's supposed to be out at night. Something is wrong." People of Reddit, what one experience made you completely rethink how you viewed a certain individual or group of people, either in a positive or negative light? Moving in with your friends can change those relationships drastically in a pretty short amount of time. I decided to open up with my sister about the experience I had with my abusive ex, expecting her to be supportive and helpful. Instead, she tried to turn it into a bleeping contest about how she suffered more through her past relationship. We don't talk anymore. I used to be absolutely terrified of homeless people. When I was little, a homeless man set up camp behind the office of our church. The parents saw him just lying there in his blankets and decided they wanted to help him, not call the cops. However, a few kids and I decided to be little jackasses and dared each other to touch the only part of him sticking out of the blanket, his bare feet. When a mom saw what we were doing, she pulled all of us away to yell at us. She told us to assume all homeless men were dangerous and wanted to hurt us. She was shaking and going crazy, talking about all the diseases and filth he had, how we didn't know if he had AIDS, because of course this was the 90s. Now the thing is, it's not necessarily bad advice to tell a kid not to poke the bare feet of a homeless guy, but it was certainly bad advice to take it to a much greater level and say homeless people were dangerous, disease-ridden, and wanted to hurt us. Because 4 years afterwards, I couldn't go close to a homeless person, not even in my teens. I'd see them just sitting nonchalantly in front of a convenience store, and I wouldn't make eye contact. In my senior year of high school, I decided to do a human interest piece for the school paper. It was a common edition, usually documenting the history and lifestyle of well-known local restaurants, former star athletes retiring in our quiet slice of suburbia, or up-and-coming entrepreneurs. But there was one guy everybody knew, a man we called Santa Bum. He was a homeless man who would share the waves with the school's surf team, and he existed mostly down at the beach. He was easy to spot with his very long pearly white beard, which was his pride and joy. I decided to do a piece on him. The journalism teacher thought I was joking, but I polled the class. Show of hands. How many of you guys know who Santa Bum is? Boom. All hands. Of course everyone knows this guy. You can't spend a week in that community without seeing him patrolling the beach or traversing the main boulevard in his bright red trunks. He's Santa Bum. Of course he has bright red trunks. I found him with the surf team, introduced myself, and he was immediately receptive to my questions. I was expecting maybe a 10-minute interview or an awkward end to it, maybe being asked for food or money or booze. Thing is, I was before one of the most well-known local celebrities in our community, but I also knew he was homeless. And man, I was a little scared too. The only thing that helped was knowing he's been a part of the community for a long time, the trusting assurance of if he's actually dangerous, he probably would have been put away a long time ago. The interview was amazing. His name is Ryan. He graduated the same high school I did. He attended 2 years of college, but had to drop out when he lost his job at a closed pet store and couldn't pay tuition. One of his good friends started a business using a lot of his own money, and he jumped on board with him, working for free and burning through his last savings to stay afloat in the hopes of developing computer components for audio equipment and making millions. That never happened, and he ran out of money completely. He used his experience to try and find a job as an audio engineer, but ended up at a record store. He had a mental break in the 80s, decided he didn't want to work anymore, felt he gave the world enough of a chance to say he tried, and made the deliberate choice to live the rest of his life out of his van. Ryan knows a ton about 70s era computer technology, audio mixing, and always has an infinite list of unknown garage bands confined to memory that he could always recommend with the fervor of a lifelong fan. I described his expansive knowledge of obscure and small local acts, writing he knew more about opening acts than headliners, and he just hit a wall. He proposed to his girlfriend, but she declined and left him shortly afterward. His dead-end job, his inability to utilize his limited college education, and a rapid pace of computer evolution left him feeling unwanted, unmotivated, and on the brink of a nasty drinking addiction. One morning, he realized the destructive path his life was taking, decided to quit his job, and just take a meditative afternoon to recollect his thoughts at the beach. And the beach never let him go. He made his money collecting cans from garbage bins and turning them into the grocery store. Most of his food came from what the local shops threw out. The greatest year of his new life was when Noah's Bagels opened a shop down there, because they would throw out several weeks worth of delicious high-carb food items every evening. He was fortunate to kick his drinking habit before it got too out of control, and expressed how blessed he was that he could simply overcome the urge with a nice afternoon nap on the sand. He wasn't just aware of the Santa Bum moniker, he invented it. When he realized his facial hair was turning white early in his homeless life, he grew out the beard, thinking it would make him more approachable. He believed people would be less likely to hassle him if he looked like Santa Claus, because who would call the cops on old Saint Nick? With his distinct red trunks and beard, he didn't look like some homeless guy sleeping on the beach. He looked like a friggin' postcard. Kids would be delighted seeing him surf, making him a valued member of the community. By far, this was the most enjoyable interview I ever did for that newspaper. And the article got a tremendous response from the students as well. A lot of the school surf team started greeting him by name every morning. The surf team's coach personally complimented me for the article, saying I did a great job capturing his story and assuaging the apprehension some parents might express seeing him there. The coach used to surf with Ryan and got to know him years previous, so his approval meant a lot to me. Since then, I'm still a little wary around the homeless. I've walked through Skid Row and the Fashion District enough times to know there are some legitimately unstable and off-kilter individuals who aren't all there. But the thing is, I've *WALKED through Skid Row. I wouldn't have gone anywhere close to that place before. But Ryan undid a lot of the mental damage that one mother did in my formative years. He reminded me that there's still a human behind every one of those downtrodden faces, and they all have a story to tell. A story of dreams, attempts, successes, and failures. They all have reasons for being there. And if you lend them an ear, they can take you on a wild ride of a story that makes you appreciate who they really are, and not just the circumstance they've ended up in. Ryan passed away from skin cancer in the mid-2000s. The local paper had a quarter-page feature for him in the front bottom fold. It described his history in working a tech startup back when they were super rare, his aspirations to be an audio engineer for local bands, and one particular line stood out. He knew more about opening acts than headliners. Logically, it's most likely coincidence. But a part of me thinks my own story influenced Ryan's remembrance in a more prominent publication, giving them more to work with. It might have just been another blip in the obituaries section, but by taking a morning to just sit down and hear him out, his memory is carrying on to present day. An assistant minister on the staff of a church where I was musician and I had become friends over time. Every Sunday he'd preach about things to do with sin, the 10 commandments, and how to avoid temptation. Sadly, one day he confided in me that he didn't actually believe most of what he preached and that, if it weren't for the salary and benefits, he'd otherwise leave the ministry and instead do something satisfying instead of feeling like a hypocrite. I didn't judge him for this, but I felt sorry for him from week to week, having to stand there and preach a convincing sermon that he himself no longer embraced. Always thought bikers were scary as a teenager/kid. Right until I saw a video about BACA. Bikers Against Child Abuse is an organization run by bikers that offer victim services to abused children in countries all over the world. Their main goal is to ensure the safety and well-being of children in the aftermath and leading up to the trial. They give stuffed bears hugs to save for later and will come to the house when a child feels unsafe or the bear runs out of hugs. They give out riding names and really take the child in as a member of the family. Definitely sends their message loud and clear. We are tougher than the person that hurt you. Really great expectation subversion. And while I definitely wouldn't bleep of any biker, I no longer paint them all with the same brush as I once did. Edit. Corrected a typo. Edit 2. Whoa, this kinda blew up more than I thought it would. Thanks for the karma boost. I should have come out of lurker mode sooner. If you're interested in learning more about them, there's a ton of info online. I'd be surprised if there wasn't a chapter of You Live in a Good-Sized City in North America or Australia. Living with my step-grandmother. Growing up, my dad did not like her, and I didn't understand. How could he dislike grandma? Well, when I was 15 I ended up moving in with my grandparents for reasons I don't want to get into. The first few months were fine, and then I really learned who she is. She is a narcissist. Was emotionally abused for 6 years of my life. I have set boundaries now, and I haven't seen her in 9 months, so staying very low contact. New job, met my boss and he seemed like the coolest guy. Then I noticed how he interacted with my coworker, sweet old lady, just being rude and aggressive when she didn't understand something. My opinion of him changed since. Honestly, Reddit. At first I thought that we were a more educated online community. The posts and comments seem much smarter than what I experienced on other platforms. But after a while you realize that a lot of people are full of bleep, and the most upvoted comments are not the people who are correct. Rather, People who most of the community agree with at the time. Take everything online with a grain of salt. Anyone can write anything. My best friends aren't paid for a week-long vacation for the two of us at a beach, condo and all. I lost every ounce of respect I had left for her when we got to the condo. Figured out it didn't have a working elevator, and she told her aunt that she would rather stayed somewhere nicer for 2 or 3 days than the dump she chose for us to stay in for a week. My jaw dropped, and the second we got home I thanked her aunt and haven't talked to my former best friend since. Don't plan to either. I used to view Japan as some sort of modern utopia. I used to think Japan is what America should have been. Then I lived there for 4 months. Living in Japan is miserable. I feel terrible for any woman who is living in Japan. The work-life balance doesn't exist past 25, for you are expected to leave your job and raise a family then. If you don't, you are going to have significant troubles moving up in the workplace. Additionally, very little is expected of you as a whole. Your job as a woman is to raise babies and make your husband's lunch. Additionally, life as a man isn't that great either. Again, there is no life-work balance. Your job is to go to work, please your boss, and provide for your family. To make it worse, your company will move you throughout the country and your family does not come with you. You will work 12-hour days and crawl into the ramen shop at 2300 to get a bowl of ramen and a cigarette, before crawling home to get 4 hours of sleep. It's a miserable experience. To make it worse, Japan, as is true with much of East Asia, is extremely xenophobic. They generally respect white people, but if you are any shade different then you are at risk of having a bad time. Even worse time, if you are Chinese, or from Southeast Asia. I had a friend win Miss University in which the prize was a free graduation dress, and she got to be the model in that year's dress catalog with 4 other Miss Universities. However, this girl is half Filipina, and was not allowed to be in the catalog, because only pure Japanese can be in it. I could go on and on and on about the things I hate about Japan. Yes, I would go back and visit, but to live in Japan is to give up many basic liberties that we cherish in the West, despite the fact it is a Western-based democracy.